Got it now.
Hey, we win.
We win, brother. Come on now.
How are you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm living a life. Come on now. Blessed beyond measure.
You know what? I'm right there with you. Are you in Colorado right now?
I am in Colorado right now.
Where at?
We are in Fort Collins right now. We're up here looking for some property. So
neighbors.
Yeah. I live actually not too far from where you guys are in Texas, but my wife and I have a place right outside of Durango.
Oh yeah.
And I've been home for almost 5 months now, and that's the longest I've ever been home. And my wife went up there without me to basically to get away, I think. So she's up in Colorado right now with my daughter, and me and my son are here doing the bachelor thing.
I don't blame you. Come on now. It doesn't get much better up here now.
No. Well, me and my boy are heading up. We're going to be heading up on Friday. We like to go up there and do some jeeping. And
how old's your son?
He is 8 years old.
Awesome.
Yeah. My daughter just turned, my daughter's about to turn 11. My son just turned 8. So anyway, the girls are doing a girl trip. Me and the boy are hanging out here. But hey, thank you for taking the time, and appreciate you joining us. For those of you that are listening, this is A Couple In with Cody Jinks. We have Josh Thompson from remote in Boyd, Texas. We have Bobby Keith from remote just outside of Waco, Texas. Our engineer, Seth Noseworthy, just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I'm coming to you from just north of Fort Worth. And we have somebody that I've been really excited about because we're all huge baseball people. Our guest today is, golly, we're going to dive into your career. We're going to dive into music and stuff like that. But you are a lifelong baseball man, former manager of my Texas Rangers, Jeff Banister. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. I tell you what, guys, it's a great pleasure. Mutual fan of yours, as you well know. It is a pleasure to be on with you. Love it, and look forward to the conversation, man. This is going to be a blast.
Absolutely, we love doing these. This has been really an exercise for us. Josh and I have been together for 13 years since we were touring in a pickup truck. Bobby Keith's been with us since we were in our old Winnebago called Dirty Dolly, when he used to sell merchandise and drive all night and never slept while we were on the road. So this has been really fun for us in terms of people see us on stage and they see the show business type of thing. But this is something that we get to do. And, we're normal people like everybody else. We just happen to have extraordinary jobs, and we get to talk to people that have extraordinary jobs. And I want to dive right into it. Okay.
All right.
We'll get to the fun stuff for you later. Right now, I want to ask you some questions. So 1986, you were drafted by Pittsburgh. That was kind of a big year for Pittsburgh. I mean, you had Bonilla and Bonds come in that same year, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I have to ask this too, because this has been one question I really want to ask you. And I don't know if you know the guy or not, but I grew up in church with a pitcher that pitched his last year in Pittsburgh was 86. His name's Larry McWilliams. Yeah. I've known Larry since I was 4. I grew up with his kids. So 36 years I've known the McWilliams, and he was pitching for Pittsburgh whenever we got to meet their family.
No, you know what? Tremendous human being. And, I'm sure being a young minor leaguer at the time probably doesn't remember, but, you remember in my case, late round pick, a nobody. I was driving around in one of those old buses too. I was but when there are big leaguers who take the time and talk to you, give you some life lessons, some baseball lessons, you remember. And he was one of those guys in spring training that was willing to give of himself to some of the young guys, and I'll never forget it.
He is an extraordinary human being. I have spent so much time at that guy's house growing up, and actually I watched him pitch his last game in 1990. He was pitching for the Royals, and they were playing the Rangers. It was his last game on the mound. And anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm glad you have fond memories of Larry. He, hands down, is one of my favorite people ever I can remember growing up. Just a great man, great family. Let's talk a little bit about some things that people may not know about you. A while ago you said you're blessed, and you are blessed. You've survived cancer and being paralyzed. Yeah. Crazy stories. Yes. I mean, you don't have to go into it if you don't want to, but like just reading your bio, it's like, good grief, man.
And I've got no problem talking about it. At an earlier age, I probably talked about it less, just because I was part of it was part of the thought process that, everybody has a story, right? It's, you have a story, Keith has a story, everybody, we have those, inner scars and outer scars that some people see and some people don't see. And it's the roadmap of our life and things that we've been through. And I never want to put mine above anybody else's. And I still don't. However, what I found out is that as I tell some of the stories, I found that I get a lot of thank yous from people that, maybe they were looking for just that opportunity to find a way to move on and push through. Find a little resilience along the way. So, yeah, when I was, really go all the way back to when I was a sophomore in high school, is that, I was a football player, baseball player, and had an injury where I don't tell this one a whole lot because it's not kind of as dynamic, but, I was quarterback at the time and had defensive tackle hit both my knees and wound up with reconstructive knee surgery on my right knee and really, kind of started the whole, I think the whole grit process for me is because back then, you think about what that would have been 70, 78, 79, somewhere right around there. I mean, a reconstructive knee surgery, ACL, MCL, it's a, an athletic death sentence. 6 months in a cast and 12 months, kind of rehab. But, I was able to, continue to play and in a football game and a playoff game in the Astrodome, I twisted my ankle. It was in November. We used to, one of my dad's mottos, he was a football coach. And, one of the things that we would always kind of strive for is, that motto was we were going to eat turkey in the dome. All the playoff games would be right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And so we were playing during that time, twisted ankle, never got better. Later on in the month of December, had flu-like symptoms. The ankle was just hurt like hell. It was one of those things that, could barely walk. My parents took me to the doctor, and at the time, kind of diagnosed me. And the old school doctor just said, "Well, look, it's just acute arthritis. You got a bad sprained ankle. It'll get better." And oh, by the way, you had the flu, and neither one of those were true. And we found out later in January when I stayed home from school one day when my mom came home and found me in the hallway. Passed out, and my ankle probably the size of a small watermelon, and it had swollen so much, and rushed me to the hospital, and they did exploratory surgery. It took them a while to kind of diagnose what was going on. In the beginning, it was osteomyelitis, which is a bone infection, terrible bone infection that can turn a human being into dust pretty quick. But I think probably during that time, one of the darkest times really is when the doctor came in and took my parents out. I was packed in ice like a fish because my temperature was so high, and we were probably already 5-6 surgeries in. I had been in isolation, wear the hazmat gowns and masks, kind of similar to what we got going on right now, really. And so, my dad came back in, had these big tears rolling down his face, and let me know that they were taking me to surgery, and they were going to have to make a decision whether or not they were going to amputate my leg from the knee down. And about that time, a doctor rolled back in, and he and I had a little conversation and somewhat of a 15-year-old argument. And what I mean by that, I was, too stupid, too arrogant, and too young to understand the magnitude of what was going on. I told him, I said, you don't understand. I'm going to play Major League Baseball, so you can't take my leg. And he said, well, Jeff, we'll make that decision when we get in there. And I said, well, if you have to amputate it, just let me die. And which, again, it's one of those moments that
that's heavy, dude.
Well, it is. It's one. I tell that story just because it's even when you get to I'll tell you, I didn't see the light of day for 4 months. Had my mother close the blinds. What's strange about that, though, that our human body will do when in times like that is that my hearing, all my senses other than just getting up and touch and feel and things like that, my sense of smell, my sense of hearing became so acute, because when I could hear the elevator down the hallway and I knew who was coming to if they were coming to my room and who they were by the cadence of their feet on the floor, or the smell of their cologne or perfume as they came in, and I could hear outside, people playing, cars, or cars going down the street, or birds or things like that, and it put me in a place to where I was able to absorb and kind of compartmentalize what was going on.
That's fascinating. I mean, golly, yeah. I just say heavy is heavy.
And Jeff, this is all going when you're 15 years old? Is that what you said? When you're 15 years old?
Yeah, 15 years old, and at 15, when you think about what you were doing when you were 15 years old, the things that you were thinking about, that's for me, it was a rush to maturity, but yet, just the magnitude of the immaturity of being 15, right? When you have you call it courage, you can just call it brashness. What do you call it? Whatever you want to. You tell a doctor, no, you're not going to do that. I'm trying to tell a doctor how to do his job.
You're telling a doctor, just if you have to take my leg, let me die.
Right.
I mean, that's wow.
And but that's the a 15-year-old says those things.
Sure.
A 56-year-old is pleading with the doctor, do anything you can to save me. We kind of learn that the days that we have are precious, and we want. I wake up every morning, put my feet on the floor, and I'm looking to do something, that's going to excite me. That's going to, that adrenaline, have fun. I mean, it's so because I can't hardly sit down. If you were to ask my wife, she'd probably tell you, look, he's probably going to be outside doing something, because I hate being inside.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If we weren't inside working right now doing this, I'd probably be outside fishing. But you were saying, and I love this, and it reminded me of something you said. You wake up every day and you put your feet on the ground it's another opportunity, right? And I'm a firm believer in that. And I heard one of the coolest quotes ever the other day. I was watching an interview with Aaron Judge, and he said, basically, if you're still thinking about how great yesterday was, you hadn't done anything today. It was a lot more eloquent. You know, if you're still riding the high of yesterday, you hadn't done anything today. And, you know, I love that outlook, that approach. Some of my favorite people ever have been coaches in my life. Not because I liked baseball and football and they were a good coach, but as becoming a man, philosophies that coaches use, a lot of the things that I learned from people that coached me in whatever it was that I was doing, I implement in running my business. You know, it's mindset is everything. So getting up every day, it's a new day. You get to take a breath. You can put your feet on the floor. And not to harp on all the bad stuff or the negative stuff or whatever, but there was a time you couldn't put your feet on the floor. You were paralyzed for like 10 days.
I was, yes. And that was, you know, freshman in college.
Was that at Lee or was that at Houston?
No, I was at Lee. That was at,
okay.
You know, so yeah, I finally, you know, what most people don't realize, I only played 1 year of high school baseball.
Really?
I had to try out. I mean, extraordinary. I mean, I was gifted all through my years of athleticism, right? And it's could run, throw, hit, play football, play basketball, play golf. Very easy. It all came pretty easy in a sense of athletically. And then, you know, after the knee surgery, after the cancer and the ankle surgeries, you know, my senior year, the baseball coach, he was a new coach coming in. Bruce Marshall was his name, and you talk about coaches. So I love that because I've grown up with a coach, around coaches, and it's like I've been in the locker room since I had diapers on. So that's kind of who I am, and I've been shaped and molded, and I'm gonna say this because what most people miss, you know, they think about coaches, about the technician, right, the strategist, and all this other stuff, and that's all great, but a true coach has the ability to brain and reach the heart. That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
You can get an instructor to teach you how to, you know, when to hit a cutoff man and you know, what block, what footwork, and all that kind of. A real true coach coaches the head and the heart, and they do. It is a philosophy. It's something to hold on to. And so my senior year, you know, I had coach made me try out, and he showed up at my house, and we were all sitting around the table. My father, my mother, my sister, and having dinner, and knock on the door, and my mom goes to the door and says, "Well, Bruce, what are you doing here?" He said, "Well, I need to talk to Jeff." And so I go out, "Bruce, come on in, come have dinner with us." And he said, no, I need to discuss something with you. And he proceeds to tell me that I wasn't going to make the team. And it just kind of, it floored me. You know, I've worked, you know, kind of my entire life, and this is what I was going to do, and I'm getting told I'm not going to do it again at all, right? And so I just, and out of respect for me, I think in him being a coach at the same high school as my dad, he came over to have that discussion. I said, "Well, give me one more day." He said, "Well, I don't know what one more day is going to do for you." He said, "You're really rusty." I said, "Just give me one more day." Went back out the next day, and like I'd never played before. But yet he saw the determination. He saw the grit, and I made the team enough to continue on to play. Went to play at League Junior College. Other new coach, a guy that had moved in from Yavapai, Arizona. And during that fall, he was supposed to play that day. I wasn't. It was a Sunday. It was October 23rd. It's crazy how the mind works because I got up that morning and went and ate breakfast. I went to IHOP. and had blueberry pancakes and bacon. I had a this big giant bread. I wasn't gonna play. I gorged myself. College guy, and I think I had maybe $8 in my pocket. I was gonna eat all that $8 worth of IHOP.
That's a lot of IHOP. Yeah.
back in that day, it was a lot of IHOP. And about the time we left, Coach Sosby tells me, he says, "Hey," he says, "you're gonna play today." I said, "Oh no." He said, "Look, there's a scout with the Yankees wants to see you play. He's going to write a report." Back during that time, they still had the winter draft. Played, having a good game. Right around the fifth inning, there was third base, fly ball hit shallow right field.
You were catching, right?
I was catching, yeah. Brother of the former big leaguer, Justin Thompson was in right field, shallow. Caught the ball flat-footed. Didn't get behind it. Not his fault. It was, camped. It's like one of those plays where you don't expect the base runner to be tagged. It should have been probably coming down the line a little bit in case he dropped it. Well, he was tagging. And so he throws the ball in, and he's right-handed. The ball kind of sailed up the line. I go up the line, go to my knees to block the ball and kind of catch it and make a sweep tag as a runner who was trying to go by. And I put myself in a really bad, vulnerable position. This is all on me. I went to my knees. I was right in the baseline. And, if it'd been a difference, guys trying to round the bag. I'll give you. So you saw the play with Marisnik and Lucroy with the Astros, right, and the Angels. So very similar to that play, to where Lucroy was going up the line. The only difference is Marisnik lowered his shoulder to hit him. This base runner tried to jump over the top of me. And when he did that, I tried to go up into him, and his knee, the whole force of his knee, collided with the top of my head, jammed everything straight down, and 3 vertebrae, 5, 6, 7, just exploded outward. I was laying on the field, couldn't move, was out for a while. A lot of things happened in that time when I was out. I'm, been a Christian my entire life, and I still kind of reflect on a lot of things that seemed to be going on when I was out on that field. And probably fortunate my dad was there, because he walked out on the field, knew that I couldn't move, knew that, kind of the magnitude of what was going on. And they scooped me up, took me to the hospital, and another 4 months in the hospital with a couple different surgeries. And I went in weighing, I think, almost 230 pounds, came out weighing 135, 138 pounds. So
wow.
Had to learn how to walk all over again, and just pure craziness.
That is nuts.
Yeah, I was, Jeff, as we were preparing for this, like I said, we're here, so and we're big sports guys, and I'm sure you remember that your few interviews on the ticket, here in Dallas, and I feel like I know you, and then I do, and these are things that I never knew about. So I would assume your phrase, like, I think was it the last year you were here, was never ever quit.
Yeah.
Now knowing about your story, those things, your phrases for each year make way more sense.
Yeah, it's. I believe in the power of the word, the spoken word, and in the more we speak it, we speak life in like music, right? I mean, there's. I hear song and music, it'll put me in a place where I've been before, and especially if the words, the lyrics, and everything strike you so much. And the same thing, when we put things down and we speak them and we bring them to life, that's what I believe most people where they lose their kind of pathway is they forget, and they don't breathe life into what they see, what they think, in the words that they write down. I've got a nephew who has a young son, and he went through some challenges in his lifetime, and one of the things I challenged him with was that before you go to bed every night, write down 10 things that you want to accomplish the next day. And he said, well, I'll just remember. I said, no, you won't. So you got to write them down. And when you see them written down, you put them in your mind and you throw them out there, and all of a sudden they touch your heart, and you want to accomplish those things. That motto for me was, we're limited in these days, right? We're running a race that it will end. It will come to an end. There is a finish line to this race. And the thing that I never want to do is I don't want to quit each day. I don't want to quit a day. I don't want to quit on anything that I set out to do. And it was a thing that, when we came in 15, it was a team that had been at the top, and they just got demolished in the year before. And it was a group of guys who I felt like that they needed somebody to give them something to hang on to and believe in. And if you remember that year, first day of spring training, Darvish goes down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And, then we lost Derek Holland on day one in Arlington, first game.
He didn't even make it through the first inning, did he?
No, he went after a ball in left field, came down and kind of caught his ankle on the wall, caught a spike and broke his ankle. And so it was, terrible for a guy because had a bright future and never really kind of played out the way it should have. You fast forward that year, we were, I think, 9 games back, 7 games under 500 at the All-Star break. At the trade deadline, we were still below 500 and 4th in the division. And I'm telling JD, make a trade, but add to our team, don't take away. And he's like, Banny, there's no way. I said, we're going to win the division. And he said, it was at midnight the night before we traded to get Hamels, and he's, we're on the phone, and like, I don't know. I'm like, no, bro, let me tell you, this is what's going to happen. And if you remember the next to last day, we were beating LA, and we gave up, I think it was a 7-run lead in a matter of 4 hours.
Wow.
We were getting ready. We went from getting ready to celebrate. I tell this story that in the dugout, the tunnel that goes up to the clubhouse, in the 6th inning, it was jam full of people at troughs, and we couldn't have champagne on the field, but we had all the drinks, and everything was they had covered up and police all over the place, and you could feel the electricity in the stands and in the dugout. And all of a sudden, I saw this lead just in front of my face diminish. And I looked back and there's nobody there. It was like, and I was like shaking myself. Were they really there or not there? Well, walk in after the game and I remind those guys, look, remember what we said in the very beginning of spring training. What you worked for, what you played for, this is, you guys have never quit anything at all this year. You haven't quit on me, you haven't quit on yourself. And just remind them again, we will never quit. And, we go back out the next day. Hamels gives up a home run a 2-run home run in the first. And I just kept telling them all, this is our game. This is our show. And so it was, probably, outside of Major League debut, personally, that day when we won the division, just everything we had been through, right? Kind of all the crap and everybody telling us, and you go back during that year, there was an interview, and I told after a game, and I think Evan Grant or one of the reporters asked me about it, and I told him, I said, and he's telling me we're finished, right? We're done. Should we move in another direction?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, please keep telling my guys that they can't and they won't.
Yeah. We have a lot of friends and baseball players, football players, pro athletes in general that we've met over the years. But in our guitar vault, it's basically, it's a big, huge thing on wheels, and it has all of our guitars that we use on the road, and we hang personal things in there. You can put pictures or mementos or whatever. We have the towel, the Texas Rangers towel, in that vault that says "Never Ever Quit."
Oh my goodness!
I'll have to send you a picture of it.
Yeah, we'll send you a picture of it, because when we're up there, when we're playing, that's our team, and we are playing for each other. You know, it's do your job mentality. If one of the six of us is off, the whole band is off, you know? So it's anyway, we have that. We have Never Ever Quit, you know, hanging up. We see it every time we go to grab our guitars, you know?
That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
Going back to 2015, your first year as a manager there, you win Manager of the Year. You're one of only 7 managers to do it. To win your rookie year, win Manager of the Year.
That's a culmination of great players and a really good coaching staff. I was a beneficiary of accepting that award. It's a very, very proud moment for me, based on, you know, when I signed to play professional baseball, I signed for $1,000 in a Wendy's, and I had to buy my scout his lunch.
You get a contract, but you got to buy the guy a Frosty or something, right?
Yeah, well, so and so to come from where I started to where I got to, it was, you know, extremely proud of it. Proud of all of that. Just, and growing up a coach's son, right? It's like all the things that I used to watch him strive for, but also the understanding that it's everybody around you, right? You can be the front guy, but you're only as good as everybody around you. That's the thing that, you know, I've watched modern sports today, and we're doing so much to destroy that atmosphere. You watch the NBA, it's isolation, it's singular, it's individuals, right? You watch the NFL, it's everything that we can do to make it a 7-on-7 football game, right? And in baseball, it's, you know, it's okay to strike out 250 times now. It's okay to hit 180. You know, it's so what if you make an error or you make 30 errors? If you hit 40 home runs and you know, hit 170, it's okay, because you know what, you've got a platform and you've got this, you know, we're going to show you on ESPN and MLB hitting these screaming home runs and everything like that. But yet, you know, the idea of, you know, this, and that's why, you know, I at one point in Pittsburgh, I pleaded with the owner and the management group to take the names off the back of the jersey, not to take away the identity of players. I wanted everybody to have their own identity, but 21 years of losing, we had forgotten what it meant to have an association with the name on the front of that jersey. And so when we got back to that and really playing for that mentality, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the rugby team, the All Blacks. If not, it's a pretty significant story and a great. If you like to read it all, it's a great read, and I would encourage you to kind of take it on. And other thing, I've become great friends with a number of Navy SEALs. Just that whole mentality and you know, the teamwork that it takes and all that. I just, you know, you can't ever get away from that. If you want to be great in anything, and it's a group of people, that's what it is.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know, everything that we accomplish, you put it very eloquently. You won, or you were awarded AL Manager of the Year 2015. That was, but you cite it as a culmination of having really great people around you, both, you know, coaching and player wise. I believe that everything that happens in our organization is a direct reflection on the fact that we have a bunch of good people.
Right.
I can have a number one record, but we have a number one record because it was us in there recording the project. It was Josh producing the project. It was it was my manager setting us up in the right environment, so there's a ton of things that go into to all that. So I think that the mindset, that you have as a coach, and having, grown up coach's son, and just being a leader, and I don't use that term lightly. Being a leader is a very difficult job, in any facet, being the leader of a band, being the leader of a baseball team, being the leader of a country, being the leader of the household. It's tough.
Yeah, I tell my leader every day when I wake up, I'm happy she lets me.
I was saying, what's your name?
Yeah, what's her name?
Hey, Jeff, we were, you were talking about, what you do, as a manager, and like Cody said, I produce. And when people ask, well, what is producing like? The best example I feel like I can give would be like a baseball manager. Because at least the way that I look at it, I feel that, you can't go out there and do it for them, but you can put the people in the right place. Some you may have to be tough with. Some you have to be very soft with, but it's about, like you said, it's about managing the people. It's not managing how they do it. They already know how to do it. And like I said, and it's
right.
This is one other thing. I'm kind of rambling, but segueing to this, like, how many small decisions when you're managing a game do you have to make each day? Like, I mean, I'm sitting here as I'm doing a record, and within 5 minutes, I have to decide: is this the right tempo? Did this guy play this correct? There's about 15 things in 5 minutes that I have to make a decision on, and then I can't second guess myself. So,
yeah.
How many small decisions are made in a game?
Well, there are a lot of them. What's funny about that, you asked that question, because there are a lot of them, those decisions, right? That, I'd like for people to get a snapshot of what really goes on, right? And so there's not a number that you can put on and say that this is the number of decisions, but it's constant, because if you've ever stacked dominoes, right? Mm-hmm. And I tell people that a baseball game is like a push one. You set dominoes up, and they all push one. They all go down in a certain pattern, right? It only takes one to screw up that pattern. So for all that preparation of this analogy of putting these dominoes, there's thousands of dominoes out, and it could be the first pitch. It could be the seventh. It could be the first play, the last play. It could be a strikeout, or it could be a missed hit and run. Different things. But however, those things are directly affected by what went on before, or the day before, or the week before, and not only you talk about being a manager, but sitting in my seat of being a manager of a major league team. You've got 25 active players. You got a number of guys on the DL. You got minor league players. You've got coaches. You've got scouts, and all these people that have this worth inside this organization, right? And they're trying to move everything in a direction. But what happens if said player has a sick son or a daughter at home, right? Now, the expectation of who he is and what he is and his mindset and how he goes out to play directly could affect all those things. So in my mind, in that decision-making process we talked about, there are so many different factors that, guys that are going to be released after the game or sent down, or, there are a number of things, right? Injuries, knowing a guy, he's injured. And by the way, guys go play injured
all the time.
The best ever was Adrian. He was, and so that affects everything. And so, but And then you know what? It's the bad decision too that you make as a manager where you've put a player in a position of failure. And now you've got to make another decision to not cover it up, but how do you massage it back in the car back into lane, right? How do you reset the dominoes? And that's and you don't, and we don't have time. It's like you finish a set, you finish the city, a town, you're on that bus and you're off to the next one, right?
Yeah.
We're the same way.
Good show or bad show, you're going to the next one.
It doesn't stop. You pack it up, or you go home and you're back there the next day. And now you're, as a manager, you're picking up some of the pieces that you might have crumbled the night before and trying to, get this player back in right mindset because they are human beings.
Absolutely.
They are. As strong as we want to think that they are mentally, they're human beings, and there are so many outside influences that challenge these guys on a daily basis.
Yeah, no, it's very, gosh, it's so similar, the parallels to what we do as well, because if you go into Houston and just blow a big lead, the next day you're on to wherever. It's the same thing with us. We may go into Houston and just play a shit show. We may tank, hopefully we don't, but the next day it's on to wherever. And the mentality still has to be there. It's like, all right, we got to get back up on the horse. We got to roll and we got to do better. And we, so it's very, and artists are very fragile anyway, in terms of mentality, like, get to look like you're big and cool on stage and you have everything together and, all that kind of stuff. But, you're sitting there thinking, don't mess up. Well,
it really is no difference. I don't know if you guys remember Chichi Gonzalez, right?
Oh, yes.
Right-handed pitch. So, there was a lot of talk before he ever got to Arlington, right? And he was going to be a guy that was going to be one of the next mainstay in our rotation. And, I liked him a lot. I thought he was a great kid. We brought him up and he went into Kansas City and he almost no-hit Kansas City. And then we bring him back home and it was either a Friday or Saturday game, right? It was a packed house. I think he pitched 7 or 6 and 2/3 innings, I think something like that, or 7 and a third. And it was just really masterful, and the fans there and at the stadium couldn't wait to get a look at him up close, right? And so as I'm walking out to the mound to make a pitching change, he starts walking down off the mound. I just kind of motioned to him to stay there. When I got out there, I said, everybody, Adrian, everybody came up to the mound because they knew I was going to take him out. And I told him, I said, look, when I raise my right arm, this stadium and the fans are going to erupt. You're a new kid. Everything's exciting, and you've pitched great. I want you to stand here, and as you walk down this mound, listen to that crowd. You may never hear it like that again. And and the reason why I say that, you got to embrace it all, right? Even the good, because there are going to be a lot of days that suck, right? Yeah. And you got to use those times to really propel you on to the next. And that to me is kind of beauty of what we do, right? Is that as we entertain, because you're an entertainer, we entertain people. I tell guys all the time, I said, look, you're going to go out and play this game. Play it as such that when we win a game, that your fans, the people who root for you every day, are proud and excited about how you played the game. And when you lose, you're giving them hope for tomorrow, right? And that also goes into how you perform. You're entertaining them. Don't ever forget that. It's a 3 plus hours a night that people walk through those gates and they sit in those stands, they watch you. My grandfather told me this. He said, as you play this game, you play for those who could dream and those who could remember when. And it's the same thing in your business, right?
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I can hear a song. I can close my eyes. A song comes on the radio, or I can, you know, throw my headphones on and listen, and it can take me back to a place, right? A song that I love, and or I can hear a new song and it can make me think forward, or something like that. And there is no difference. You know, one thing I'll tell you about, you know, you asked about decision making in baseball, and which is unlike football or basketball, because we do play so many games.
Yeah.
We go out every night to win. Our mission is to win tonight. We're going to win the pitch, win the inning. You know, I want our guys. That's their mindset. We're going to kill it tonight. We're going to win tonight. However, as a manager, one of the more crucial decisions that you have to make is there are those games that hang in the balance, right? And if you get caught chasing games that you might win that game, and you chased it, you might have killed 4 games a week from now.
Yeah.
And that's the fragileness of what a baseball manager goes through. Because you watch enough of them, you watch these guys who manage these games every night like they're the 7th game of the World Series, and you wonder why, you know, September rolls around, August, September, their teams is like that.
Yeah,
and it's
everybody's spent.
The collateral damage is huge.
Yeah. Well, it's you know, it's a lot like being on tour, you know, and you know, there's another parallel. It's you can't just be great, you know, for 1 or 2 shows, like just to get that. You know, it's like you got 4 more shows this week, buddy. You know, you know, you can't just lay it all out there for that one. You know, you gotta. But all right, we've been. I didn't want to keep you wrapped up just talking baseball, and I think more so we've been talking philosophy than we have anything else, which I love, because you know, it just I love the nuts and bolts of decision making and what goes where and how everything happens. But you're a huge music fan.
Yes.
All right. So I've been talking to you about what I want to talk about, which is baseball, and you've been very gracious. But I know you probably would rather talk, you know, about music at some point as well, or something like that. But like, kind of just let us know, what did you hear when you were a kid? Like, what were you listening to? What really grabbed you? Was it something your mom and dad played around the house? Something you heard on the radio? Were you rebellious? What really shook you?
I would ride to school with my dad every morning in this 57 Ford pickup, and it was only AM radio. And he loved all the outlaw country. You know, it was Merle, it was Waylon, it was Willie, it was Guy Clark. It was, you know, these guys that, you know, you'd catch on Jerry Jeff. I mean, just Hank Jr. And it was, so that in the early days I loved. It struck me. It was the storytelling. It was the lyrics, you know, kind of that spoke to me, and I could enjoy the melody of the tunes, or I could, you know, ride the wave of some of the edgier outlaw country. And, you know, and it's, as I got older, I mean, growing up in the high school that I grew up in Lamarck, Texas, which, you know, they integrated the school in 1970. So, you know, I think,
are you kidding me?
We were talking about this morning, is that, you know, you grab my phone and I may have pretty diverse, one of the more diverse music genres that you'll come across. I can go from metal to country to blues to pop to rock. And for me, it's more about, you know, what electrocutes me when I hear it. And again, I go back to, where does it put me mentally and emotionally?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you know, you cite, you know, like in a lot of different kinds of music. I'm the same way. We're in a band full of people that like different kinds of music. We happen to be in the genre of country music. But we have an indie rock drummer. We have a rock and roll bass player. I came from a metal band. Our piano player, I don't know what he does. I don't know what he is. But so we have, and our sound engineer, our front of the house engineer, Seth, who is running this whole thing out of Nashville. He tests the speakers with Enya, like the it's a grab bag full of weird and awesome stuff. But at the end of the day, there's two kinds of music, right? There's good and bad. Would you agree?
Right. I agree. No, there's music that you turn the dial, or you just move on past, and then there's music that you want to hear over and over again. I mean, that's, and for me, that's, look, I love country because it is my roots. That's how I grew up. I grew up also in church, listen, hymns, and, that's why, if I ever, I'll flip on Elvis and listen to all the old, when he used to sing all the old hymns.
He had some great gospel stuff, man. Elvis had some great gospel stuff.
Listen, and so, and then there were times where laying in a hospital bed, I had a little cassette player and headphones, and the only tape cassette I had was the Commodore. So I would listen to Commodore's Live every single night, just to kind of put me in, because most of the melodies were, you get some of those rise and falls of, it would put me in a place where I could go to sleep in a place that I mean, you don't sleep in a hospital, by the way. There's so much commotion going on. So, but that was, and so now, kind of that's, if I want that, it kind of put me in that place. And so, I listen to Alice in Chains. I mean, I can go all over the map on you.
Yeah. What are you listening to right now? What's on your, what is the last thing that you've listened to?
Oh, well, Alone.
Oh, you. Okay. Well, all right.
That was, I mean, it was, and it was, I think it's one of your songs that I hadn't hit on before, and I don't know why. And it just, some of the lyrics is like, I remember those days. Listen, I think we were in the car listening to B.B. King. We had on earlier today. Karen and I went for a nice long hike, but it just depends. I mean, my phone, all of my gigabytes are chewed up with music.
Yeah, mine too, buddy. Mine are too. The gigabytes it's all music. What stinks right now is that we can't go play music, and kind of tying in sports with music again. And I know that Josh wanted to hit on this as well, but with everything that's going on, we obviously can't go play. I know Josh had a follow-up as to what's going on with baseball right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Benny, I don't know if you have intentions of going back, but like, is this a smart thing to be trying to play baseball right now?
Well, yeah, I want to go back. Listen, it's, I'm not finished yet. I got shown the door. That's part of the dynamics of the game. And, sure looks like I don't know if we jumped the gun as much as, when you look at basketball, right, they're playing in one place and it's all in a bubble, right? Where these guys are, if you leave that bubble, you're out. I read a story where one of the players, he went out, he couldn't help himself and he's out, so.
Yeah.
But I believe they've had 0 cases. I thought about this why didn't we, as Major League Baseball, have 6 different locations, right? 2 on the West Coast, 2 on the East Coast, 2 in the middle, 5 teams at each location, put them in a bubble, all play in one spot. I get playing in your home stadiums and stuff like that. However, it's just so hard to control all the variables, right? You're dealing with 20 to 35 to 40-year-olds and, everything in between. You think about 25-year-olds, the boredom, if you will, of just what do I do when I'm not playing?
Yeah.
Well, being, somewhat controlled and confined, and I think we missed maybe the boat on that one of putting these teams in those bubbles. You can still rotate teams around and still get all the different league play. But, yeah, it's sure it's with teams with Miami with 19 cases and Washington doesn't even want to go down there. They want to. It's just my opinion sitting here, not connected. It's going to be hard to finish it. I hope like hell we find a way to get through because for like your fan.
Oh gosh, yeah. We just got it back. We just got it back, and now we're sitting there going, oh no, oh Miami, oh no, what are we gonna do? You
go back to, and I don't want to get this not political, but you talk about leadership and things like that, and just leadership in your house, leadership in your church, your community, in whatever business you're in, as small as it is. And I argue this with people all the time. There's, everybody's a leader, right? Yeah. And there are bad leaders and there are good leaders. There are bad, people that want to take you down the wrong road. There are people that have selfish intentions, and there are those who think of others. And right now, we're kind of caught in this whole, I don't know if it's fear or if it's just, individualism.
I think that's the word you're looking for, Jeff. I really do.
We don't want to care for for each other. And I'm like, time out for a second. If I don't have enough to care about you to take care of me, and then if I need to stay away, or if I need, what this year, what do we need to give other people, maybe in a less emotional or mental state, right? So that they're able to rise above whatever their place they're at today. Most leaders don't really, or I shouldn't say most, there's some leadership, they don't think about that. What they think about is, well, what is the perception of me? Mm-hmm. What is the perception of my decision? Quite frankly, I don't give a crap what people think
you can say whatever you want, Jeff. This is a podcast. Jeff does not give a shit.
But I'm always going to think about the moment and the future, right? What's going on right now, but also what does that affect in the future and other people? And that's where we've gotten away from that. That used to be kind of the basis of what our culture and society was about. We don't care about that now.
I think lack of empathy has really been a big player in what's going on right now. And when I say empathy, I mean like let's go back to the golden rule. Okay. That's pretty cut and dry. And if you're trying to do that, then you're empathetic, you're sympathetic, you're all the aesthetics that you need to be. Everything is so, divisive right now. And going back to a team aspect, we're all on the same team.
Yeah, we are.
It's like healthy competition is a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's why we play baseball. It's why you bill 4 really kick-ass bands together, because those bands are going to try to go out and kick each other's ass. It's a good, healthy thing. at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing. We are all on the same team. And I think that's something that we're not practicing right now.
No, and we're not. We don't. And part of it was just people don't care anymore. It's and they're so willing to reach for. We're at that angry stage where we're so willing to reach for that emotion first than we are anything else, right? And if you remember at the very beginning of this, and we were talking about, one of the reasons why I didn't never want to prop my story up above anybody else's, and I still don't, because we don't know where somebody else has been, right? It's we don't know how they grew up. We don't know what situation they're in, and we don't know what moment they're in right now unless we take the time to find out.
To learn. Yeah.
To learn.
And one of my favorite quotes ever, and I'm sorry we've kept you so long. I didn't realize we've been on talking this long. But one of my favorite quotes is an author named J.M. Barrie, and his quote is, "Be kinder than is necessary because everyone you meet is fighting some sort of battle." Everyone. It may be an illness. It may be a loss of it may be whatever, So that, like I was saying a while ago, the lack of empathy and sympathy, and like you were saying, right now seems to be angry and more wanting to be up in arms than to open your arms and embrace. And as an artist, as a lyricist, as somebody who writes songs about what I see, that's a lot of the stuff that we've been writing.
What was the song? What's the world?
Watch the world die.
Watch the world die.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things intertwined in the lyrics of that song, right? But just that one sentence, right? Watch the world die. There's can have so many different meanings, but when you think about, what you see today and things that are going on, it's like, we need people that are going to stand out front, and their spoken word strikes the heart and soul of people, right? I promise you, if you took a group of some of the best coaches on the planet right now that have that ability, we would be better off listening to them, because motivation lasts for about 5-10 minutes. But yet when somebody cares enough about you, and that's the other thing I tell young coaches, that players, they only care about a number of things, and they want to know, do you care about them? Right? Can you make them better? And when they suck, are you going to jump off the ship, or are you going to still be right there with them?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And most human beings want to know that about about everybody else around them, right?
Yeah.
And especially the people who are supposed to be leading us through, crises. It's like, dude, do you really care about who we are and what we do? And so that's why, for me, yourself, all artists, we need football, we need sport. It's a country built around those type of things where we can get away from it's our respite of getting away from the everyday monotony of what's going on.
Absolutely it is. And and there's the old adage, art imitates life, or life imitates art. I don't know, but I do know that we need to get some things figured out. And and one thing that I will take away from this, and we're going to wrap up and let you go, because you've been more than giving of your time. So thank you. But one thing that I will take away from this is I love the talk about leadership and philosophy on how to make everything better by being a good leader. Mm-hmm. How, as a manager, as a player, as a coach, as a musician, as a producer, as whatever it is, as chief bottle washer or ditch digger, whatever that may be. So I appreciate, man. I appreciate the insight. And that's probably what I'll remember most about this conversation is like what did you and Banny talk about? We talked about like being good leaders. It sounds fascinating, but at the end of the day, that's like you said, everyone is a leader. And I love that. And I'm going to use that on my kids because you're either a good leader or a bad leader.
Yeah. You either get up and make you better, you don't. And if you don't, somebody else does. And for me, it's, I love the conversation. Hopefully you can tell that, that has been my passion. It's changing the trajectory of another human being. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. Yeah. You can have people that, for whatever reason, they're down and out and they feel like there's no hope. Can you change the trajectory of their life? Or, young guys that have monopoly money in their pockets and they're great stars, right? They're on a trajectory also. They can be. Yeah. Can you change that one to become better, in the right path? Because at the end of the day, when you're done, you're no longer a musician or anything else. You become a person of your community. Mm-hmm. You help make your community better. As a major league player, NFL player, my job is to help these guys win and perform and play. But when they're done, are they better husbands, fathers, brothers, sons, and leaders in their own community? And that's truly, what my mission is.
I can't think of a better way to put that than that. Yes. Amen.
Wrap it up. There we go.
Drop the mic, Banny. You get it.
Well, guys, thank you. It's been a blast. I'm a huge fan. Will always be. Me and my 18-year-old, we kill it on the radio. He drive around. He's got this big F-250, and we're blowing diesel all over the joint.
Now
rolling the windows down. So
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. That means the world to me, man. And I have that guitar that you and all the guys signed a couple years ago that Bobby Keith got. It's hanging right on the wall over there.
Thank y'all for doing that, by the way. That was cool.
Oh, you're welcome, brother.
That was super cool. It hangs right there in my office. But you're, and I promise I'm gonna let you go in just a minute. Your son is a Keller Indians graduate, right?
Yes.
My wife is a teacher. Her first teaching job was at Keller High School in 2003. She was there for 6 years, I think, before she went up to Denton. But yeah.
Wow.
She was up there. We used to live in Roanoke right when we first got married, and Keller High was her first teaching job.
Oh, cool. We were right there in Asheville Estates. Well, I'm married to a teacher too. She was a teacher for 24 years, brother, until I convinced her to quit.
I finally got mine too. She taught for 15, and now she's still a teacher. She's home. We're homeschooling the kids now. So.
Right.
So she got out of teaching and just went to homeschooling. But hey, we're gonna let you go. I thank you so much again. I'm gonna take a lot of great things away from this. Some of the most, like I was saying earlier, some of the most influential people I've had in my life have been teachers and coaches. So yeah, this was a fun one. So for Josh Thompson, Bobby Keith, we got Nose engineering this whole thing. My name's Cody Jinks. This has been A Couple In, and have been absolutely stoked and delighted to talk with Jeff Banister. Jeff, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, guys.